listening to Cinemajaw, the greatest movies podcast ever, recorded on location at Cinemajaw Studios in Chicago. My name is Matt Kay. With me is...
Rye the Movie Guy, and sitting to my left is Fill Me in Phil.
Hello.
This week on Cinemajaw, Matt, 3 reviews, which means this week is...
A Review-O-Rama.
The reviews are...
The Burrial.
The Pigeon Tunnel.
And...
Fingernails.
Nice. I mean, we should really make it 4 is the minimum for Review-O-Rama, but it's all right.
3 is pretty strong.
3 is a lot.
It is.
There's a lot of shows that only do one movie a week, Ryan.
This is very true. They just focus on one movie, and that's boring,
How
right?
boring is that?
Especially if the listener, the jawhead, doesn't want to care, or want to see the Pigeon Tunnel.
Skip this episode.
So, right, let's give them some options out there.
I agree.
We talked about trying to review a horror film because we're right in the middle of October. There just wasn't anything great out there that we wanted to sink our teeth into. But because we're talking about The Burrial, which is based on a true story, and because The Pigeon Tunnel is a documentary, obviously a true story, we tried to shoehorn that idea in here theme-wise, and we came up with our top 3 horror films based on true stories.
How many horror films claim to be based on a true story?
Oh, I'm glad you brought this up. If I'm making a horror movie, even if I was the person who made Totally Killer, where the girl gets in a time machine in a photo booth and goes back to 1987, I'm starting that movie out saying based on true events.
Right.
It's just scarier.
I agree.
Everything should be based on true events.
The phone calls coming from inside the house, Ryan.
Right.
Based on true events.
I tried to pick 3 that did have some validity of being based on true events.
I'll be the judge of that.
They're always a stretch, though. I'm not going to lie, Jawheads. Yeah. They are always a stretch.
All right.
No guest this week. We're going to play Stump the Kubinski in honor of The Burrial, which stars the great Tommy Lee Jones. We're playing Tommy Lee Jones movie trivia with Matt Kay.
All right. Unless every question is about The Fugitive, I'm probably going to lose. Or maybe Batman Forever.
I kept both those off the list.
Oh, Jesus. There's a little confusion out there. I just want to clear this up for the Jawheads. This is not The Burrial starring Draco Malfoy, which is about Allied soldiers carrying the remains of Hitler when they get attacked by Nazi werewolves. That's a thing. I didn't know it was a thing. And when I saw that description, I'm like, oh my God, is this the movie we're going to review? No, it's not. I wish it was, though.
That does sound interesting.
Doesn't it? I forget that guy's name. Can we throw it in the fish tank? But he was creepy as Draco.
He was. I don't know that actor's name. And this movie is relatively new, I take it then.
Yeah, I think it's like 2020. Can we look that up too, Phil? Is like a twofer?
The other Burrial movie. What the hell's going on?
I mean, Nazi werewolves? That sounds amazing.
Our Burrial movie we're talking about has Tommy Lee Jones and Jamie Foxx in it. But
Right. Not as scary. I mean, regular werewolves, scary. Regular Nazis, scary. Nazi werewolves? Whoa.
Holy hell, scary.
Look out.
For sure. I don't know if you saw this, Matt. This is really nice, Jawheads. We're in the studio. Matt brought a gift. He is looking for some like rare artifacts and maybe selling them online. He came across the Criterion collection, the disc here for Rushmore.
Yeah, and I thought I had a few others. I definitely got some more Criterion, but that was the only Wes Anderson.
You came across this weird, a garage sale, Matt?
Just at a garage sale, yeah.
Okay.
I'm treasure hunting, right?
So Matt's out there treasure hunting and comes across Rushmore, the Criterion collection, and he gives it to me here, which I don't have it on Criterion, but
well, now you do.
I do now. Thank you, Matt. But it brings me to a point that I think most Jawheads probably saw in the news, and I wanted to get your take on it. Netflix has announced that they are out of the DVD game officially. Yeah. This obviously is where Netflix got its start. They started as a mailer, DVD mailer company, back in late 90s, like 98, I believe was the year they were founded. And the idea was that they were going to ship out DVDs.
Used to be able to rent games, too.
Right.
Video games.
And this was obviously caught on like wildfire. This was before the internet was powerful enough to, stream movies. Nobody had
broadband.
Right.
Yeah.
All that
Remember
was
DSL? Was that what it was called?
that was big.
That was huge.
That was a huge step up. But going back to that
All
time,
of the internet porn was just GIFs back then, you know?
that's where you go with it. Okay.
And that's where everyone goes.
But going back to that time, do you remember those early days of Netflix and the first time you heard of this company that they were going to start mailing out DVDs? Because I remember it distinctly.
I do too. It was in the office at Lodge Management where we used to record Cinemajaw. And somebody was walking around with one of the red envelopes. And I'm like, what is that? And they're like, it's Netflix. You can get a video and they mail it to you. I'm like, why not just go to Blockbuster? It's right down the street on the corner. They're like, this is easier. I just do it from my desk and it pops into my mail. I'm like, that's stupid.
Same. I am right with you. So I remember the guy who told me about it. His name was Gus Fernandez. He knew I was into movies. And I remember him distinctly asking me, there's this new thing. It's called Netflix. You come in here on the computer, you put in your movies that you want, and then they mail them to you. And I was like, well, how they just mail the top one that you want? And he's like, no. Sometimes it's the fifth one or the fourth one. Or
yeah, remember your queue and how long it would get?
It would go really long, and they'd mail maybe the number 11 on there. I was a huge movie guy, and I turned to him, I said, it's the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, who would get this? Like, you can just go to a Blockbuster. So you do have to go to the mailbox anyways to return the movie.
Right.
So you got to go somewhere to physically return the movie.
We live in a city, right? So it's much easier for us. We're going to pass a Blockbuster back then on our way to work.
Right. And
you lived right by one.
Right down the block from me, exactly. And the other idea was that, like, they might send you, if you had a diverse queue, you might have a documentary that you are interested in, but you don't want that documentary on a Friday night necessarily. You want like the big action movie or a comedy or something. Right. So the whole idea that these movies were coming to your house kind of randomly, I thought was just garbage. I thought this will never work, And then when Blockbuster came out with their Blockbuster Online, where they were doing the mailer, which was same thing as Netflix.
And you had that, didn't you?
I did. Plus the bonus of going to the Blockbuster with the mailer to get whatever you wanted in store. I thought, like,
it's a no-brainer.
This is the end of Netflix. I thought, who would still have Netflix? And here we are all these years later, $1 billion company. I mean, who knew it was just never going to end? Everybody loved Netflix.
Yeah, and the other part of the news is they are opening brick and mortars. I didn't read the article, so did you?
Yeah, I did read it, but they themselves haven't announced exactly what they want to do with the brick and mortar. But they said they experimented. There was a pop-up of Stranger Things bar here in Chicago. Mm-hmm. And I guess they've done this in a few different cities where they're doing, selling merchandise, and there's pop-up bars and, kind of trendy stuff. That's all in. People want to,
experiences.
Yeah. You want to like get involved with, the TV show or the movie that you're watching. The article that I had read is like maybe they would open up maybe something along the lines of with the old DVDs of doing like,
video stores,
a retro video store with like maybe a movie theater attached, a gift shop, a bar, like a little entertainment thing in your like major cities. The theater then would give them their own space to, show their movies, which they're still struggling with sometimes.
Netflix, buy the new 400, please.
That would be a good spot for one of these things.
Yeah, it would. For sure.
And then you'd have all the merchandise. You'd go in there and buy a Stranger Things t-shirt or, get a cocktail that's, has a theme, something with whatever their new movie is, right?
I miss the video store. The family video hung in there for a good long time. I remember when I would go out to Kalamazoo to visit my folks just a few years ago, like right before the pandemic, like 2018. There was still a family video there. Now it's a dollar store.
Yeah, it's a shame. The last one I saw was out at my brother's. He's in the far west suburbs here in the city, or in Chicago. And they combined with a pizza place, the family video. And I thought that was pretty brilliant because it was like a pizza.
Yeah, you get your pizza,
video,
you get your movies.
And there's a ton of families out there. And I was like, I could see where it's still a cool thing. You get kids each go pick out their movies. You get your pizza. It's like a thing to do.
And there was an ice cream store right, a couple doors down. Yeah, this was the Friday night with your parents.
Yeah, this was when
it's gone. It's dead.
This is when people went outside of the house, Matt.
Right. Now we all just sit around and look at our screens. Mm-hmm. It is unheard of.
It's crazy.
It is.
It's a sad day, though. And also Best Buy then jumped on the bandwagon. They announced they're going to stop selling movies and music in the stores first quarter of next year. So you won't be able to buy DVDs at Best Buy anymore.
Well, dude, okay, here's the thing. What are they going to do with all those DVDs? They're going to have to liquidate them, right? Blow them out?
They'll have to. I'm probably sell them online.
The market's going to get flooded. So
they're still going to sell them online.
I bet you the market gets flooded and physical media prices go way down. I don't know. I've been wrong about that kind of thing before.
The thing is there's still people out there that like watching,
Right.
4K.
We just had this discussion.
Yeah, Blu-ray. There is still people out there that want to collect the physical media, and there's people that, like myself, Phil mentioned this also, the quality is just better on 4K and Blu-ray. Still, as good as my internet is, still when I put in a 4K, it's like, whoa, much better than, watching anything I can get on Netflix. So.
Yeah. We didn't even talk about streaming. That's a whole nother conversation.
Right.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be interesting. Did they save all the cases? That is the real question.
I wonder.
Is there a warehouse somewhere full of empty DVD cases that Netflix discarded?
They never used them anyways, though. They had those sleeves.
Right. So when they sell the discs, I imagine they're not just going to put them in a landfill. They're going to try to liquidate them, right?
I would imagine.
So do they sell them with just the sleeves, like empty? We'll
Probably.
find out.
I remember when Blockbuster was going out of business, and back then I was like,
I wish I could go back in time.
I was going around. I was buying movies for like $1. I'd drive to all the Blockbusters and I'd see what was out there, and I'd buy some that were just in the sleeve because they had the mailers also. And then I was going to one of those computer stores, and I'd actually buy the case, of a Blu-ray, and I'd put it in there. So
interesting.
That way I would have. Like,
did you print out the artwork? And
I've done that for a couple. Yeah. Such a dork.
They might do you guys remember those things? They were like little portfolio binder things that had...
Remember, I still have them.
Yeah.
Because we get mailed a lot of screeners. So I still get a good stack every year of fresh DVDs. And I have this giant leather binder it's got to have like 100 pages of DVDs in it.
So
both sides.
You get rid of the cardboard that the mailers come in?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, I just discard it. It's just too much to hold on to.
Yeah, I didn't know what I've put mine in a one of those plastic crates.
Yeah.
But
Binder.
Interesting.
Binder's the way to go.
That might be the best bet.
I'll show you a picture of mine.
But then you got to dig through and find them all.
It's kind of fun though, because it's like a journey. You discover things you forgot about. Oh, there's my copy of Goonies. Gonna watch that with Quinn, which actually happened.
Well, right next to your 3DO copy of Gex.
That went right over my head. Gex the Gecko?
All CDs, yes.
Okay, all right, now I got it.
We
Video game reference.
really went on a DVD tangent here, Matt.
We did.
I really just wanted to say thanks for Rushmore.
You're welcome.
Yes. All right, back on track here. A Marty Scorcese fact. We're still celebrating him this month. Let's go.
Yes. I like to think of Cinemajaw largely as probably the three most holy human beings alive. I think we're all in agreement on that.
Amen, brother.
You know who's not in agreement on that is the Pope.
Yeah.
Because the Pope's never come on our show. You know where the Pope has been? At a private Martin Scorsese screening.
The Pope? Holy cow.
In November 30th of 2016, for the very first time ever, Marty had the privilege of a private screening audience with Pope Francis in the Vatican. He was also allowed to bring his wife, Helen, and his daughters, Francesca and Kathy, as well as the fellow producer, Gaston Pavlovich. He screened Silence from that year.
That makes sense.
Yeah. At the Jesuit-run Pontifical Oriental Institute in Rome for an international group of Jesuits on November 29th, and then again on the 30th in the Vatican with very esteemed guests.
The Pope wasn't watching Raging Bull? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
What a dirtbag.
I want to know what the Pope eats during the screening. Is it popcorn guy? Is the Pope going popcorn and snow caps? He wears that little cap. Maybe he goes with snow caps to match the little.
He's sneaking popcorn in. He's doing the old high school maneuver where he's hiding food. He's got a can of Sprite.
He's got plenty of room to hide it up in that hat. Here's the other question, right? How much pressure would that be for Martin Scorsese? Like with the Pope sitting there watching your movie, would you just be wringing your hands like, oh my God, the Pope is watching my movie?
How did you take yourself seriously in that situation, right? Because all I can think about is how this was a meeting of Marty and Frankie, and I'm pretty sure it's disrespectful to call Pope Francis Frankie. I have no idea, but
Yeah, I think it's probably.
My guess is the Pope is just like us, and he's waiting for the movie, and there's previews playing, and then he just blurts out, "Enough of the fucking previews already! Let's get to the movie."
Yeah, and then when the movie was over, he just puts his thumbs down and goes.
That's good stuff.
Poor Marty.
Good stuff. All right, let's get our first review going here, Matt K. A new film hit Prime Video last weekend titled The Burrial. Not to be confused with Matt K's Burial movie he's been touting about. And although we are smack dab in the middle of horror movie season, this film is not scary. In fact, it's a courtroom drama starring Jamie Foxx and Tommy Lee Jones. I happened to catch the premiere at TIFF back in September, and Matt K took a peek this past week. Now it's time to come up with a verdict.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, how y'all doing? For all of y'all that don't know who I am, my name is
Willie Gary.
Willie Gary.
Willie Gary.
William Gary.
Never heard of him.
What's so special about this guy, anyway?
Litigation is war. It's a battle. Bam! And I'm not talking about no bullshit either. I'm talking about some Jean-Claude Van Damme ass-kicking shit.
Truth is, I may have gotten myself into a lot of trouble.
I've been your lawyer 30 years. We can find a way out of it.
You've never sued anybody before in your whole life.
This fella tried to bully me out of business, and I don't think I should be expected to stand for it.
The Burial is based on a true story. Back in 1995, William E. Gray, an unconventional personal injury lawyer, helps financially troubled funeral home owner Jeremiah O'Keefe sue a large funeral home company, the Lowen Group, over a contractual dispute. This may not sound thrilling on paper, but Jamie Foxx's charisma makes this a very entertaining watch. What starts out as a contract dispute opens up into a much larger issue at hand. The Lowen Group charging underserved communities higher rates for funeral arrangements, knowing that they have nowhere else to go. The teaming up of Tommy Lee Jones and Jamie Foxx is what makes this film work. You can think of them as an odd couple, in a sense. The movie actually provides quite a few laughs. In Toronto at the premiere, this played really well with the crowd, myself included, very into it. So my first question is one that of intrigue. Matt, how did this play as a streaming movie watching it by yourself?
Very well. It played very well. It's a charming, delightful little movie that I would have no trouble recommending to my elderly parents. I think it's not necessarily a movie for the whole family, but it was good. I don't know. Yeah.
It shocked me. The reason I asked that too is this is one of those when you're at a film festival, I have say 5 things written down in a block. This was probably like 3 or 4th choice. And I couldn't get into those first couple. And so I was like, all right, I'll end on The Burial. I wasn't that excited, but I was shocked how much I enjoyed it and how much
movie.
The crowd enjoyed it. I mean, everybody was laughing at everything Jamie Foxx did on screen, and he really brought that charisma.
Jamie Foxx brings the charisma because, let's be honest at this point, I think someone needs to tell Tommy Lee Jones about acting range, because he's just Tommy Lee Jones.
He's a grumpy old man.
I'm going to put on a slightly different accent, with a slightly different affectation. It's just Tommy Lee Jones. Like when he stares somebody down, I just see like the guy from The Fugitive staring somebody down. So, but Jamie Foxx more than makes up for it. Great performance from him.
I agree. The case at hand here, as far as the Lowen Group actually charging underserved communities more money, this was the actually first time I've heard of this issue. So
yeah.
This casted a light on this.
How low is that?
Oh, I mean,
that's disgusting.
It really is disgusting. Knowing that these communities only have maybe one funeral, parlor service in the area, they're raising the prices sometimes by, I forget what they say in the movie, 3 times the amount. One casket in a competitive market might go, say, for, I don't know the prices right off the top of my head, X amount of dollars. And then in the underserved community where they have nowhere else to go, they jack up the price 3-4 times the amount.
Right. And here's the most insidious thing. And I don't think this is a spoiler because this is a true story. But if you really want the story to unfold for you, if you're not familiar, skip ahead a few seconds. They get in with the the black church, the Baptists, and they recruit Baptists to be their salespeople, this Lowen group. And there's one point where one of their witnesses says, if you're religious and your religious leader tells you to do that this is the best move for you, you believe it. Mm-hmm. Like Marty believes the Pope.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. No, there's no doubt. I mean, it's much like going to a doctor or a lawyer. You believe these.
How sick is that? How sick is that?
And so here you're going to someone that you put in all your faith into, no pun intended, and they're telling you this is, what you need to do, and they're ripping you off.
Yeah.
It's absolutely disgusting.
Another actor that I wanted to highlight here is Mamadou Athie. Boy, was he great. It's kind of a smaller role compared to the leads, but it's pivotal. He's kind of the glue or the heart of the movie that gets everything going in this case. And some of the scenes where he gets these microaggressions are really at the heart of the matter, really what the film is actually trying to be about, which is racist practices in business and how they're legal, because anyway, the movie is about that. Not the case isn't even about that. It's
right.
It's weird.
Well, I did you feel that they were in the right of turning it into that type of case, because the case at hand is just a contract dispute. It's not black white, anything to do with race. It really is just a contract dispute.
Right. And it was less than $10 million.
Right. And then they are able to somewhat turn it to focus on something else, which really the case isn't about, but it's really just getting the jury and everybody on their side by, shining the light at like the dirty stuff that the Lowen group's doing.
Right. Well, true. But at first I think it was a strategy, but once they shone that light, the stuff that they saw was truly disturbing. Mm-hmm. Like they didn't expect to find that in the basement, you know?
Right. But could you technically take the Lowen group to court for what they did? I don't know if anything against the law.
I think that would have to be like a civil suit or something.
But you know what I mean? Like ethically, it's terrible.
Right.
But are they breaking the law?
I don't know.
I don't think there's a law being broken there. I just think ethically,
I think
it's just
price
terrible.
fixing is against the law. There's probably some things it's definitely ethically wrong what they did. Probably there's some kind of legal way to prove that it was wrong too.
Mm. Well, speaking of actors, there's two other ones that pop up in here. One that I wanted to mention is the villain in here, who's the head of the Lowen group.
Yeah.
For me, I call him that guy.
What's his name?
So I got him as Bill Camp.
Okay.
And I've seen this guy numerous times, but it's always, I'm like, oh yeah, I know this guy.
Yeah, I'm in the Bill Camp.
Bill Camp.
Yeah.
So I thought he was great as the kind of guy that you just want to hate, right? He thinks he's got it all worked out. He's not even going to go to the case because it's too below him. And then eventually he's got to,
He gets called.
And it's got that kind of great moment because you want to hate this guy.
Yeah, he's a dirtbag, a slime ball.
Yeah.
Easy to hate. It was good casting, and he played the role very well.
He did. Now on to our jaw-dropping moments and
Sure.
the other actor I wanted to mention, because my jaw-dropping moment is when Jamie Foxx first comes into the legal team that Tommy Lee Jones already has. So Tommy Lee Jones is already working with a lawyer who's one of his best friends. They're, a close-knit team, and now they're bringing in Jamie Foxx, who's this very showy lawyer.
Yeah.
And he
styled
comes
after
in,
like a Johnny Cochran type.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He comes in and he's all flamboyant when he walks in, and he starts calling the shots. Well, the lawyer that is in charge of Tommy Lee Jones's team prior to this is played by Alan Ruck, better known as Cameron from Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Great to see him.
So great. And of course, he just can't believe, like, he still thinks he's the head of.
Did you think he was going to turn out to be a bad guy at some point? That's a bit of a spoiler.
Yeah, let's dance around that.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure where that was going to go. So, but that was my jaw-dropping moment. Just seeing Jamie Foxx take over the room.
Mine was when the young lawyer finally convinces the team, Jamie Foxx and his team, to come. It's a really great scene. He's sitting there at his desk and he evokes Johnny Cochran, and that's what finally convinces Jamie Foxx to take the case.
This seems like a throwback kind of movie, like something that they would have made in like the 80s and 90s, these kind of courtroom dramas that had some comedy it doesn't seem like it fits anymore.
Good.
I know. I'm glad to see it. So I hope Jawheads give this one a spin. It's streaming on Amazon Prime. So I recommend. You got a movie poster quote?
When Jamie Foxx is on the case, court dismissed.
I went with a feel-good movie about death.
That's true.
It really is.
Yeah.
But you laugh a lot.
It was good, man. How many Jaws you giving this?
Dusting off the corner jaw here and going 2.75
Wow.
Jaws. 2.75. What do you got, Matt?
You just couldn't commit, huh, Ryan? Well, I went the extra mile. I'm giving it 3 Jaws. There's not a lot to not like here. There's really no major flaws. I suppose if I had to point to anything, I would say Tommy Lee Jones, but even if he's a little boring, he's still Tommy Lee Jones.
Oh, yeah. He's still the grumpy old man that we kind of like, right?
Yeah. He's
like
a bit one-dimensional, but
Right.
he's great at that one dimension.
He's that uncle that's over at the party and you're always like, good old Tommy Lee Jones, just
Yep.
being a grump.
Yep. He's good at it.
Well, it is streaming now on Amazon Prime. Jawheads, if you check it out, let us know what you think. Shoot us an email, feedback@cinemajaw.com. We are wrapping up Chicago International Film Festival. Saw a lot of great movies. By far the best that I saw was Poor Things, the new Yorgos Lanthimos. I'm just going to say it's excellent and put a pin in it there because we'll review that when we get closer to the release and Matt has a chance to see it.
Yeah. Hope we get a screener soon.
That by far was the best movie that I saw at the fest. Saw a lot of movies there. One of them was The Pigeon Tunnel, also played there. We're going to get to that. But another one was a film titled Fingernails.
All I needed was a love you gave.
Have you guys taken the test?
Yeah, 3 years ago, we were positive. Felt like a weight had been lifted.
I founded this institute to take the risk out of love. No more uncertainty, no more wondering if you've chosen the right partner, no more divorce. We were the first to build the machines to conduct the test to make the bond of love stronger.
I really want to work here. A lot of famous people study there.
Really? Like who?
Ginger Spice.
She's my favorite.
I know.
Back in 2020, Greek filmmaker Christos Nikos made a film called Apples. And it was a film I had tried to see at TIFF, missed it, and still actually haven't seen it. I was intrigued because I heard he was heavily influenced by Yorgos Lanthimos. When I heard he had a new film titled Fingernails playing at Chicago International, I knew this was one I had to see. The good news is this movie will stream on Apple TV starting October 27th. It stars Jessie, Buckley, and Riz Ahmed and has a very odd plot description. Get this, Matt. In the near future, couples can test to see if they are in fact in love with each other. It is done by ripping off your fingernail, putting it into a machine that resembles a microwave, and getting the results. Those results can be one of 3 things. 100%, meaning both people are in love, 50%, only one person is in love, or 0%, neither person is in love with each other. Jessie Buckley's character has already taken the test and her partner got 100%. But when she starts to work for the institute that coaches couples on how to love, she starts to have feelings for her work partner, played by Riz Ahmed. This is a very strange rom-com, and I love strange. The humor is unusual and offbeat, again, right up my alley. However, the film takes time to warm up to. Some of that bizarre humor does not land because the viewer is still searching for the tone. At least I was. However, the more time I spent in this peculiar world, the more I started to enjoy it. This may be a case where a second viewing is downright hysterical. If you're looking for something different and want to see some great chemistry on screen, do check out Fingernails on Apple TV.
Boy, Jessie, Buckley, and Riz Ahmed, right? Can you get more indie darling than these two?
Fantastic.
I mean, seriously, who do you go to that's more indie darling than those two actors?
I agree. Right now, they're at the top of their game on the indie level.
Yeah. They are the most indie. So they have to rip off their fingernail?
Yes.
Like we're talking down to the root?
Yes. So
that's horrifying.
Oh, it's a real gross concept. I mean,
do they show it?
Yeah, they show it to a degree. They do it cinematically, so you get the idea of what's going on.
Pliers or something?
Pliers. They use a tool, and then they rip the
That's painful.
fingernail off.
I believe that's like a torture method.
And I love the machine that they put it in. There's no explanation. So this is why, that Yorgos Lanthimos theme fits well. He's got very odd type of situations.
Sure, the lobster.
Right, the lobster, for instance. You go on and on. He never explains any of it, right? You just got to go with the world that you're in. And sometimes you catch into it right away, and sometimes in a case like Fingernails,
it takes a minute.
Takes a minute to get involved. But they never explain any of it, go into too much detail. But they rip off their fingernails, they put them in basically what looks like a microwave, and then you get the test results in about 30 seconds, and it tells you if you're in love. And the couples that don't get it but feel like they want to be in love go through this institute, which is teaching courses on how to love, which is just bizarre, right? I mean, there's like things that they can do, songs that they can read the lyrics to. They can jump out of an airplane together and do a parachute. And this is ways to learn that you love each other.
Weird.
It's very strange.
Is it like Wes Anderson weird?
That's the other thing. Some of the humor landed. I saw this. It was a pretty crowded theater at the film fest. Some landed where it was big laugh out loud, and some was like, it was almost too bizarre to laugh at. Like, what the hell? Again,
I love that.
I do too. Again, I thought, man, I bet I watched this a second time. I'm like laughing at all those moments because it was just too weird for me to laugh at the first time.
Yeah, you were still waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Right. I'm still like, what the hell's going on in this world? This is so bizarre. But I do recommend checking this one out. And the performances are both great. And you really do start to cheer for Jessie Buckley and Riz Ahmed. The guy, who I didn't write down, he plays the bear. This is a big show shot here in Chicago.
Yeah, I've seen his face.
We throw that in the fish tank. It's a 3-namer. I forget
buses,
it now.
Yeah.
He's also in this. He plays Jessie Buckley's current partner that passed the 100% with Jessie Buckley.
Got it.
He's great in there as well. So the acting's fantastic. Do check this one out. As far as a jaw-dropping moment in there, I went with one of these many odd exercises that they have the couples doing at the Institute. One of them is for them to jump into a pool and stare at each other underwater, and they feel that this makes a connection. And this is done in a kind of like a beautifully cinematic way where Jessie Buckley's got to be helping the couples, but she ends up like looking up at Riz Ahmed, who's standing outside of the pool, and just looks beautiful on screen. It's kind of that moment where these couples are having they're looking at each other when it's supposed to be the people they're coaching.
That's cool.
It was really well done. And a movie poster quote, charming but odd. Practice patience to fully enjoy.
Okay.
2.5 Jaws.
2.5? Just about to ask you. 2.5 Jaws.
2.5 Jaws
All right.
For Fingernails.
You're chopping up the jaws today.
That's what I'm doing.
All right.
Speaking of chopping up, we're talking horror here, Matt.
Yeah.
Based on a true story.
Who wants to go first?
I'll let you, buddy.
All right.
Based on a true story.
Based on a true story.
We're putting that in air quotes, Jawheads.
This one is irrefutable. Irrefutable. Although I guess you can quibble over the minor details. Academy Award-winning performance in the lead. I am talking about the story of Aileen Wuornos, which was played by Charlize Theron in Monster. Wow. What a shocking movie. I guess you can split hairs and say it's not a horror movie, but it's a serial killer movie. So it's horror flavored, and it's pretty disturbing. And I love it. Also, Christina Ricci is in it. Great performance from her as well. One of her career highs, I would say.
For sure.
This is a great movie.
This is a true story. No disputing it. So I like that you started off strong with that category, because my number 3 is iffy.
Okay.
I went with 1982's Poltergeist, a film I finally saw.
Yeah, what?
I had missed Poltergeist for the longest time. I watched it maybe 3 years ago for the very first time and just loved it. It's supposedly directed by Tobe Hooper.
Yeah.
But a lot of people claim that it's actually Steven Spielberg.
Right.
And if you watch the movie, it is hard to believe it's not Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
And you can read, there's a whole Wikipedia page on that Paramount had him under contract, and he can only direct E.T. in 1982. And this also came out in 82. So they went around this and say that he produced it. But a lot of people, there's stories out there that
Hooper really didn't do shit.
yeah, like he would set up the shot, but it was Spielberg directing the whole time. Yada yada. It's a fascinating read on its own. But as far as being based on a true story, it is supposedly based on the Herman family. Lucille Herman came out and did a whole interview recounting her personal experiences with poltergeists. And there's even a 2012 documentary titled Real Fear, The Truth Behind the Movies that they did. The family saw bottles move inexplicably through the air, and even after the police were called to the family's residence, there were poppings, noises inside the house. They began to intensify while the police were even there. Scientific reasons.
It's called pipes.
Such as electronic disturbances and the like were allegedly ruled out. They even brought in a priest to bless the home of the house where this was going down. And supposedly this is the idea of where
The Exorcist and other,
so on and so forth came from. Like, oh, the house is
Tangina.
actually haunted. In the movie,
This house is clean.
in the movie, obviously, it was built on an old burial ground, and
Right.
hence the poltergeist. So there was some truth to it. Some truth. I'm
That is a
using your
stretch.
quotes. Using your quotes, man.
Okay. Well, I guess that brings us to my number 2. And this is a true story. Again, the details can be quibbled over. But one thing's for sure, there is a real house in Amityville, Long Island. And in this house, a young man murdered his entire family. He shot them to death, his parents and all of his siblings. In fact, he just passed away in prison in 2020.
Wow.
Fairly recently. And then about a year later, a new family moved into this house and moved out again within about a month or two. And they said while they were there, they experienced all kinds of paranormal happenings. That is the part which is obviously very debatable. What did they really experience? Did they just want the notoriety? A lot has been written on both sides of this. But the Amityville Horror is a great horror movie. It is the best haunted house movie, I think, today. What do you got? What would you even put next to it?
I don't know. I mean, we've talked about our scariest movies of all time, and I had Amityville at my number 1.
Did you?
Yeah, I had it. I saw it at an age where it just scared the living hell out of me.
Scary, because the dad starts to go crazy and he's sharpening his axe and stuff.
And I believed it back then, that there could be a gateway to hell in somebody's basement. I was all along for the ride.
Right. Yeah, so did I, for sure, man. Like, I would find like an old crawl space like that probably used to be used for coal or something in my basement, and it would freak me the hell out. And I thought that was the gateway to hell, you know? It was just an old coal chute.
Or was it?
But here's the thing. I grew up in Connecticut, a stone's throw from Long Island. It was about an hour away.
Did you ever go?
We went. I don't even remember why the hell we were in Long Island. Maybe to visit family, or maybe we were just out for a drive, and my dad drove us by the Amityville house. He's like, there it is. And I'm like, what? And he's like, that's the Amityville Horror. And I was like, oh, shit. And I think I saw it on HBO like a few months later, and I was like, oh, my God.
What has those famous windows?
Right. So they got rid of them. But only pretty recently, again, they remodeled the house. It just came up because it was up for sale during the pandemic. But prior to that, when I saw it, it still had those eye-shaped windows up. It's a scary-looking house.
It really is. There's so many Amityville movies now, too. I mean,
Right.
it went out of control. Absolutely out of control. But that original one, awesome.
And it's still there. The house is still there. The movie is still out there. 1979.
So I like that Matt's actually in some weird world we're in here. Matt is actually the one grounded in the list here. Mine are all...
I'm about to go way off the rails.
Mine are all very big air quotes, guys. My second one is the Mothman prophecies.
Yeah.
Again, this is...
cryptozoology.
They really did write a book. There's these weird stuff did happen. But let me give you the backstory.
Did
here.
it, though?
Really did happen. Get a load of this, Matt. Now, the Mothman prophecy stars Richard Gere. Let me state that. And Laura Linney, I believe.
Wow, really? I forgot about Laura Linney.
Throw it in the fish tank. I'm going off the top of my head. I believe it's Laura Linney. And I saw this, I remember in the theater. And I remember.
Clancy Clancy Jones, the guy from Shawshank Redemption.
Don't know.
Okay.
Don't know where you're going with that. But I'll say this much. I saw the Mothman Prophecies in the theater, and I was taken aback by how good of a movie it was. It scared the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the backstory on what the Mothman Prophecies was based on. 1966 in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, something very strange starts happening. More than 100 people, Matt, reported seeing a 9-foot-tall, black-winged creature with glowing red eyes. Some said it spoke to them and forewarned of an impending disaster in their town, a small farming community at the intersection at the Ohio and Kanawha rivers. 1 year later, their worst fears were realized when the bridge over that Ohio River connecting Point Pleasant to Ohio collapsed and 47 people on the bridge died. And a lot of people said this is what that Mothman was talking about, and hence the Mothman Prophecies. A journalist by the name of John A. Keel, who Richard Gere's character in the movie, went on to write a book in 1975 called The Mothman Prophecies. I think he worked for like the New York Times. I mean, he was a legit journalist, and he was part of the 100 people that saw the Mothman. I believe his wife or somebody dies on the bridge. Can't remember the exact story, but he writes the book. Then they make a movie. They're again, it's a weird coincidence, yes, but it was based on some facts happening, and then they
Hey, man, anything's possible.
ran with it from there. So
Yeah. I have my own little... I used to be obsessed with cryptids when I was a kid. I would always get... I told you guys this story.
what are cryptids? The way you talk about it, like I know what this is.
Like Bigfoot,
Oh,
Nessie,
all of those things. Okay.
like the Chupacabra, monsters that like
Okay.
are kind of real, but
Don't forget jackalopes.
yeah.
Matt throws these terms around like I know exactly what you're talking
Cryptozoology.
about. Okay, all right.
So I was obsessed with that and ghosts too, that kind of thing. I think as most like 8-9-year-old boys are. And I took out a book on Mothman, and for the first time, it scared the shit out of me. I don't know. I had read about Bigfoot. I had read about chupacabras. I had read about all kinds of weird animals, crazy monsters and stuff. But Mothman got me.
Really?
It just got me. Yeah, it to this day freaks me out. I saw that movie. I went in afraid, and it was a pretty freaky movie too. Yeah, for some reason, Mothman gets under my skin. He scares the shit out of me, and I think it is probably one of the more plausible cryptids. Like, I don't even believe in Bigfoot.
No way.
I wanted to. And the Loch Ness Monster, right? Sounds plausible. It's a very big lake, but I don't think so. But Mothman? I don't know.
Well, Mothman Prophecies, it's one of those nowadays streams on, Pluto TV or Tubi or, kind of a junker. Don't sleep on it.
No,
it's actually a quality movie.
I'd say definitely worth a spin this Halloween season.
I agree. I'm a big fan of the Mothman Prophecies.
Me too. Big fan of Mothman. All right, into our number ones we go. Here we go. Heavy hitter. We don't even need to talk about it that much. Speaking of Tobe Hooper, I'm going straight to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And here's where my close attention to detail comes right off the rails, because nothing that happens in Texas Chainsaw Massacre ever happened in real life. It does open up with this movie is based on true events. No, it's not. It was loosely inspired by Ed Gein, the serial killer who famously made things out of people, like chairs and masks and things like that with people's flesh and bones, which is horrifying. But that's it. Really, like Leatherface, the family, the House of 1,000 Corpses, all that stuff, not real. But there you go. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is an absolute masterpiece.
Yes, it is. And
it's the Citizen Kane of horror.
Another one where they've just run out of control. I mean, there's Leatherface, there's multiple. We
loved the last Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I did. You didn't like it as much as I did, but we reviewed it on the show.
It was fun enough. Who played the female lead in that?
I think it was Wednesday Addams, Jenna Ortega.
Oh, dude, now we need to look it up. What year was that?
Tank.
All right,
it was last year.
I don't think it was Jenna Ortega. I think it was the girl from I think it was Ellie Fisher from 8th grade.
It might have. Oh, she was in it also. You might be right, actually. Now that you say that, you might be right. But that was like the beginning of last year, I think.
Yeah. Good movie. The bus scene, fantastic.
I remember Matt being a little hard on it with Jawheads, but now he's coming around.
That's because Texas Chainsaw Massacre is Citizen Kane of horror.
All right. My number one is a movie that scared me, and it came out in 2008. And I understand they're actually going to reboot the whole entire series now. There's 2 of these already out, and they're going to redo them all. It's called The Strangers with Liv Tyler.
Yeah,
And
you were terrified of this one.
it still gets me. If I watch it anytime, I know I've seen it probably 3 or 4 times, and every single time, even watching it, I'll definitely be creeped out. And I think it's because it's pretty basic. It's a home invasion movie, and it's based on doing the research here. It's based on 3 different true stories that they sort of melded together to make the script. One of them was actually just the Manson murders, where we had people breaking in and killing people in the house. The second one was inspired. The second story that inspired The Strangers was the infamous 1981 Ketty Cabin murders. 4 people were killed in a small California resort town, including Sue Sharp, her son John, daughter Tina, and John's friend Dana. Disturbingly, the motive for those murders is still unknown. And that's the idea of The Strangers, is they're killing people kind of just for fun.
Yeah.
Just let's knock on somebody's door. If they're home, let's kill them.
Yeah. Scary.
And the third and final slice of it, for the real inspiration for The Strangers, was from the director's life experience. As a child, he recalls a night where his parents weren't home. Someone knocked on their door asking for someone who didn't live there, just like they do in The Strangers. Is Tamra there? And who? What? They were home. But later they ended up finding out that those people knocking on doors were actually robbing people who weren't home. So they would knock on the door. If someone answered, they asked for somebody
who didn't live there.
Yeah, and then they walked away. If they didn't, they went in, they robbed the house. They didn't kill people. But then he merged all of that together and came up with something that I like I said, still terrifies me. People knocking on the door, and when they see all right, this is a easy victim, let's have some fun and kill them. Oh my God, it terrifies the hell out of me.
It's scary.
Right.
Yeah. I still look over my shoulder from crimes that happened in my neighborhood, that scare me. And that those motiveless crimes are always the creepiest.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally. I had no honorables down. I just did my 3.
I got one honorable mention, and we'll mention it really fast. Zodiac.
Good one.
I left it off the list because, again, it's more of a thriller, but it's definitely horror flavored.
For sure.
Yeah. Less so than Monster, so Monster beat it out.
Understood.
But Zodiac is great.
Jawheads, if we missed your favorite movie that is based on a true story, air quotes again, shoot us a tweet at Cinemajaw or an email, feedback@cinemajaw.com. We are taking a break, and when we come back, we have another review, this one of the Pigeon Tunnel, and Stump the Kubinski. Stick with us.
Let's all go to the lobby.
Listen, Jawheads, having challenging therapy sessions, it's a part of life. We've all been there. We all make mistakes. I don't think any of us murdered our spouses after having our children drown, though. And if you're anything like me, which I know I am, you probably aren't ever compelled to think about what that therapy session looks like. Lucky for us, Martin Scorcese gives us a glimpse that we never wondered about with this clip from 2010's Shutter Island.
What did you do to my gun? It's a toy, Andrew. We're telling you the truth. Dolores was insane, manic depressive, suicidal. You drank, stayed away, ignored what everyone told you. You moved to that lake house after she purposely set your city apartment on fire. Then you went to Andrew, stop!
All you've done is lie! Your children, Andrew, your children!
Simon, Henry. We never had any children. Your wife drowned them at the cabin by the lake. And here, the little girl, the one you dream of every night.
We never had a little girl.
The one who tells you over and over that you should have saved her. Saved them all. Your daughter. Her name was Rachel. Are you going to deny that she ever lived?
Sparkling drinks, dandy, 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 dandy.
And we are back on Cinemajaw, and we're talking horror movies. We're talking Review-O-Rama. We threw a few items into the fish tank, Ryan. Why don't we let Phil out?
Who's coming with me besides Flipper? Here.
That's a Sicilian message. It means Luca Brasi sleeps with the fishes.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Thank you so much. We have a pretty big fish tank this week, and I'm beginning to wonder if there's something supernatural in the air affecting all of our memories, because every one of the 4 questions is who was that person? Who was it?
It happens. Yeah.
I don't know. Last week was Friday the 13th. I don't know what our bad luck is right now. I'm blaming a Wendigo.
Not a jackalope?
Nope.
Okay.
No, sir. Our first one, who plays Draco Malfoy and was in that Burial movie, and when did the other one come out? This one was one that was like, as soon as I looked it up, I was like, oh yeah, that is exactly what this human's name is. Tom Felton. Tom Felton.
Right. Yeah. He's great.
I just don't see him in enough stuff.
Yeah, he's not in a lot. He's making Nazi werewolf movies now. So,
which, good for him.
I mean, it's great. Great for us.
And Matt, you said 2020 is when you think this film came out?
That was my guess.
It came out last year. It came out last year.
2022. Okay.
So super recent. The second one, who is the guy from The Bear who was in Fingernails? That actor is Jeremy Allen White.
Mm-hmm. He's blowing up.
Not only in Chicago's very own The Bear, but also in Shameless. So I feel like we have stake over this human.
Does he live here?
Now, from New York, but I mean...
He lives here now. Okay.
It's like Matt Kay.
And I know I saw a preview. He's going to be in The Iron Claw, the story of the Von Erich family.
I don't know who they are, but...
Wrestlers, I guess.
Oh, really? Cool.
Who was with Richard Gere in the Mothman prophecies, and that is Laura Linney. That is Laura Linney.
I thought so. Yeah.
And then our last one, shame on us. We should have done this as another one of our bets that we were talking about last week.
I forgot the poker chips.
Who is the lead in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre? We forgot to say anything about it, too. Who is the lead in the last Texas Chainsaw Massacre film? That was Elsie Fisher. Matt's right on this one.
You would have won that one, Matt.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, to Ryan's credit, Jenna Ortega has been in a lot of slasher films recently. 2 Scream movies and X.
Only recently after Wednesday. Like prior to Wednesday. No. Really? This was prior to Wednesday?
Like around the same time. At least the first Scream and X, those were at a weird spot last year where it really could be anybody's game.
I didn't watch Wednesday season 2.
It hasn't come out yet.
Oh, it hasn't?
No,
okay, good.
Just
Then
the first one.
I'm not behind.
Yeah. Was that everything, Phil?
That's all we got.
All right. Next week on the show.
Yeah.
I know Matt was discussing, we get 3 invites. We get a new David Fincher film. We get a new Sofia Coppola film. And we get something called Five Nights at Freddy's. And I get an urgent text from Matt asking if I'm going to the screening. What movie, Jawheads, do you think he's talking about?
Obviously, the good one. Although David Fincher is no slouch. Coppola's let me down the last few times.
Five Nights at Freddy's is what he's concerned about, Jawheads.
You bet your ass. It's going to be the pop culture phenomenon of
No mention of the new Sofia Coppola. Nothing to do with David Fincher. He's like, are we doing Five Nights at Freddy's? I'm like, I don't even know what that is.
Parker is stoked.
But
Phil, you stoked?
I was a little too old for it when it came out, so it's not for me.
We talked about this a little.
Yeah. But we are going to at least review 2 of those next week.
FNAF.
We may hold the Priscilla one for another week. I don't know. I got to look at the dates on that. But that's what's coming up.
Okay. Going to be a busy week.
It is. Jump back in that fish tank.
Will do.
Touted as one of the more interesting documentaries of the year, The Pigeonhole tells the story of David John Moore Cornwell, better known by his pen name, or nom de plume if you prefer, Jean Le Carré. Le Carré wrote some of the more legendary and heady espionage novels of the post-war era, if not of all time. And next to Ian Fleming, he's often considered the godfather of the genre, referred to as the father of all secrets. In this documentary, we get the full, unabbreviated truth about Le Carré, his inspiration for his characters, and his real life in the Secret Services. So enough tinkering. Time to soldier on and spy the Pigeon Tunnel.
You asked me about the nature of our relationship.
I needed to know who I was talking to. Were you my friend across the fire? Who are you?
And if I can't answer that question?
It's terribly difficult to recruit for a Secret Service. You're looking for somebody who's a bit bad, but at the same time loyal. There's a type, and I fitted perfectly.
Director Errol Mark Morris, who won the Academy Award for Best Documentary Feature for his movie The Fog of War, 11 Lessons from the Life of Robert S. McNamara, now gives us The Pigeon Tunnel. And if the title of his other film was any clue, this was a total snooze for me. Don't get me wrong. Errol puts a lot of style into this picture, often framing his subjects as if they were being spied on and lacing dramatic classical scores throughout, which I genuinely liked quite a bit. The recreations of some of the scenes from Licari's life are silently acted, which is good because it doesn't pull you out of the narrative. Great decision when your subject is one of the best writers of the modern era. I mean, just let the guy talk. His diction and turns of phrase are so musical. Let's talk about Licari himself, Ryan. This film delves into everything about the man in a pull-no-punches, almost confrontational way. It even makes an early allusion to interrogation. But ultimately, the interrogator fails. While touching on nearly everything, his thoughts on God, his relationships with known double agents, his parents, his success, money, notoriety, the inner room is bare. The father of all secrets even hints that he has a secret, and then that just dies on the vine. Interestingly shot, slow-paced. Ultimately doesn't get anywhere, but perhaps that was the point. So, Rye, what are your overall thoughts on this film? I know you were excited to see it.
I was. I mean, we don't review a ton of documentaries. We try to get to them.
Yeah, a few here and there.
This one played at Toronto. It played at Chicago. I knew the director, and so I said, let's take a stab at this one. I mean, obviously, if they're making a big push this way, and it's going to be on Apple TV, all right, let's give it a shot. I was let down also, man. I thought this was a snooze fest. In fact, that's when I wrote you that we needed something more for the show. In my mind, when I saw the trailer, and
this was going to be our only
review of the show, and once I watched it, I knew, oh boy, we can't do a whole show revolved around this movie. It was just too slow. There were no secrets really revealed. And like you said, maybe that's the point. But I was under the impression we were going to get some secrets from his spy days. Like, this guy was a real spy.
Right.
Let's hear some of those secrets and how those influenced his novels. And we don't really get too much of that.
No, I think it's like Exit Through the Gift Shop, only boring.
Yes. And you're right. It's filmed really well. There were partly almost distracting with those mirrors in the.
I liked it, but yeah,
the library, because it was tough to exactly see what was going on. He put like mirrors behind him or to the right of him, so everything sort of looked off kilter.
Some of those shots were pretty cool.
It was pretty neat, but I just was distracted by it a lot. I kept looking like, so where's the camera? This is how my brain was thinking. I'm like, so where's the camera? And is the mirror like to the left of him? And I'm seeing like a reflection. I kept focusing
that was cool.
on that.
See, I enjoyed that. At least it was visually appealing. Did you find it repetitive? And again, maybe this is the theme, because the Pigeon Tunnel, the titular Pigeon Tunnel, he talks about how it was these tunnels that came out to the sea from underneath a little lawn shooting range at a country club, let's just say, and pigeons would fly out, trained pigeons. The rich assholes would shoot at them with their shotguns, and then these pigeons would land on the roof in their cages and do it all over again the next day, the ones that survived.
Right.
The movie is repetitive. Maybe that's what he's talking about. The Pigeon Tunnel is a loop. Am I giving it too much credit?
I don't know, because then would you say that the whole spy genre and like what he was actually doing when he was physically a spy is repetitive?
I don't know. Maybe I'm reading way too much into it. I'll tell you this, 2/3 of the way through the movie, I was having a hard time keeping my eyes open.
I was tired too. I made it all the way through the movie.
Same.
But I was planning to watch, there's a new show on Netflix called The Fall of the House of Usher.
Yeah, I want to see that too.
In my mind, that night, I was like, you know what, I'll watch this documentary and then I'll watch a couple episodes of that show.
Didn't happen.
Didn't happen because by the time the documentary ended, I was like in sleep zone. I was like, I'm going straight to bed. My eyes were so heavy from watching this doc. It just like sucked the energy out of me.
I want to make a confession, okay? I'm going to tell a secret here because there's no secrets revealed in this movie.
None.
Even at the, I allude to this in my review. He says, that's everything. I'm not going to talk about my sex life. Are you kidding? Why not? Please, let's talk about your sex life.
Yeah.
If this guy was really interrogating him, he would have been like, well, why not?
Right.
But here's my dirty secret.
Oh, boy.
I have to watch movies sometimes. Got a busy life. Especially when the movie is boring. I don't do this for all movies, but especially when it's a boring movie, I know we're going to eviscerate it and I just got to get through it. I'll turn the speed up. I love it on Netflix and some of the other streaming services. You can go to like 0.25 or 0.5 speed if it's really boring. I would have loved to turn the speed up on this movie. It might have improved it.
Oh, because we were watching on a screener, so you couldn't.
You can't do that on Apple.
Right.
Oh, it was such a slog. Such a slog. It's a shame because the first like 30 minutes of the movie, you think this is kind of cool. It's like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy.
Right. And you're sort of bait and switch because you're given this idea like, oh my God, he's going to give away the secrets of working for MI6.
Tradecraft.
Like, oh, here we go. It never comes. It never materializes. Thank the Lord this thing was only like 93 minutes. It felt like 2 hours.
Dude, it was only 93 minutes?
93 minutes.
I honestly thought it was 2 hours.
No, it was only 93 minutes.
I thought it might have been 3. All right, here's a question for you, Ryan. Le Carre's novels are amazing, and lots of them have been made into movies. I've seen Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. I've watched the BBC series Smiley's People, and I saw The Spy Who Came In From the Cold. Have you seen any of them, and which is your favorite?
One other one of note. I may have seen a second one not mentioned there, but I saw The Little Drummer Girl.
Okay.
And they made that into like a 6-part series that played on the Sundance Channel when that was a thing, and it starred Michael Shannon was one of the actors.
Wow.
And I really enjoyed that. However, I didn't watch that because I knew it was written by this particular author.
Yeah.
I didn't know exactly what all he wrote. I'm familiar with Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, and I know The Spy Who Came In From the Cold, but I don't know that he did all these. And I wasn't ever seeking out these movies because they were based on his books.
Yeah, I haven't read any of the books. I figured you probably had.
No, I hadn't. And so that's the other thing I will say for the Jawheads listening to this. If you're into these, they might get something a little bit more out of this than we did.
This is for fans.
Yes. So if you're into this genre and you know this author really well, I think you're going to enjoy it more than it sounds me and Matt did. Because
Maybe.
I didn't enjoy this movie much at all, to be honest. I was just like, what the heck did I just watch? I was expecting something different.
Right. If you're a fan, if you're a true believer, then it's for you. So this next question I have is going to be kind of, you already answered it, but I was going to ask you Smiley or Bond. And your point of reference is probably pretty narrow. You just got Gary Oldman, right?
Right.
Yeah. All right. So where do you go?
Bond.
Yeah. I'm a Bond guy myself.
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it.
I like Smiley. Even just the Gary Oldman performance is pretty good. Will we be talking about this documentary at Oscar time?
I would think no.
Okay. Jaw-dropping moment for you, Ryan?
I went with the actual explanation of the Pigeon Tunnel. It's definitely the most cinematic moment in the movie where we actually get the pigeons flying through the tunnel. It was beautifully shot.
It was beautifully shot.
And
there's no problem with the photography in this movie.
No, the photography is pretty good. And another shot I did want to highlight was one where he would set up the camera outside of the room.
Yeah.
The door was partially closed, and we were like looking through that little crack of the door and seeing him being interviewed.
Lots of fun angles like that.
Interesting. So I did appreciate that. That would be my jaw-dropping moment.
My jaw-dropping moment, none, unless you count the multiple times my chin hit my chest while nodding off.
Oh, man.
You got a poster quote?
I went with codename boring.
Yeah, I mean, mine's a little longer, but if you like slow, deliberate character studies that go nowhere, you're in luck.
1.5 Jaws from Rye the Movie Guy.
I gave it 2. I really thought the photography was pretty cool, and this is a celebrated author, and I liked hearing him talk for the first hour. Gets a little long.
Really does. It is going to be streaming. Actually, once this podcast is out, now that I think about it, it's the 20th of October. It drops on Apple TV. So if you have it, and like I said, you're a fan of the author, I do probably then recommend checking it out. But if you're not going to learn that much that's going to turn you into a fan, I don't think. So
I don't think so either, yeah. Okay.
All right, let's play
Trivia time?
Yeah, let's play some Stump the Kubinski. How about it, Matt? You ready?
I'm always ready.
All right. In honor of the Burrial, we're playing Tommy Lee Jones movie trivia.
Let's see if Ryan gave me a snowball's chance in hell this week.
Matt needs 3 or more correct not to be stumped. Question 1 over to you. We're just calling him Tommy. All right, Tommy in the trivia.
Okay, I go by Tom.
Tommy Lee Jones, we're going Tommy. Here we go. Question 1, Matt. Tommy played Brad Pitt's dad in this 2019 film.
Ad Astra.
That is correct. You didn't forget about that.
No, I was just talking about that with my brother.
Were you?
Yeah. He couldn't remember Tommy Lee Jones's name. He's like, well, I can't remember everyone's name.
That's what I want to revisit Ad Astra.
Yeah.
I'm interested in seeing it a second time. Question 2 over to you, Matt. What Steven Spielberg directed film did Tommy appear in that also starred Daniel Day-Lewis?
Steven Spielberg?
Spielberg directed, Daniel Day-Lewis, and Tommy Lee Jones also appeared in the movie.
Dances with Wolves?
That is incorrect on all levels.
The Last of the Mohicans is the one I was thinking of.
Incorrect.
But Daniel Day-Lewis is in that,
At
right?
least he's in Last of the Mohicans.
Yeah.
But for the record, Dances with Wolves is directed by Costner and starring Costner. Nothing to do with Daniel Day.
Costner, Spielberg. They're close.
The correct answer we were looking for was Lincoln.
Okay.
Lincoln.
I didn't see that one.
Question 3. Matt, in 1998, Tommy starred in the sequel to The Fugitive. What was the name of that movie? There
so
was a
many
sequel.
great jokes, you know, like the man with no arms did it.
There was a sequel to The Fugitive.
Yeah, U.S. Marshals.
That is correct. Who else starred in that movie, Matt?
Oh.
Who was on the run that time?
Who was on the run?
Yeah. This is just a bonus question. Doesn't count for the score.
Oh, man. I think it was... Wow. I don't know. I have no idea. Jamie Foxx.
Wesley Snipes.
Yeah, I thought it was...
Wesley
Okay.
Snipes. Yep. All right. It is 2 correct, 1 wrong out of 3 questions. So you're doing pretty good. All you need is 1 more, Matt. Question 4 to you, Matt. Oliver Stone directed 3 films in which Tommy appears. Name one of them. Tommy Lee Jones appears in 3 Oliver Stone movies. Name one of them.
The only Oliver Stone movie I can pull right out of thin air, for sure, JFK. I mix up a lot of Stone and Coppola's filmography because I know they both did a very big Vietnam movie. I think Stone did Platoon. So I'm going to say Platoon. Damn it.
He was in JFK. He was
JFK.
in JFK.
See, I said that first.
He was in one of your favorite movies, Natural Born Killers.
Oh, yeah, that was Stone.
And he was in a movie called Heaven and Earth, which I have not seen. So.
Was I right at least that he did direct Platoon?
He did direct Platoon.
Okay.
Yes. You were right there.
I'll take that as a win, Ryan. And I said JFK, and that was the right answer.
Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. It comes down to the last question. You need this one correct, Matt. Here you go.
I'm taking it as a win.
In 1997, the same year Dante's Peak came out, Tommy Lee Jones starred in this movie with Anne Heche. Name it.
What does that have to do with Dante's Peak?
Well, that's the hint right there. You know how sometimes movies come out in the same year that are very, very alike?
Mm-hmm.
You have...
Okay, so it's about a volcano.
It's you have like Armageddon and you have...
Deep Impact.
Right.
Yeah.
So the same year Dante's Peak came out, Tommy Lee Jones did a different movie with Anne Heche.
So it's either called simply Volcano, or it's named after a famous volcano, like Vesuvius or Kilimanjaro, or what's the big one that blew up in the Pacific Ocean? I guess they all blow up in the Pacific Ocean. Mount St. Helens. I'm going with. Am I on the right track?
You are very much on the right track, Matt.
Did I say the correct title?
Did. You actually said the title.
All right, let's do this. Let's do process of elimination, okay? It's definitely not Mount St. Helens.
It is not.
Okay.
Correct.
And it's definitely not Kilimanjaro.
No, it's not.
So it's between Volcano and Vesuvius. I'm going to say it's not Vesuvius, Volcano.
He is not stumped this week. It was Volcano. Unbelievable.
And Seth Rogen approves.
He absolutely does. Wow, 3 right. It came
Almost
down to the
4.
last.
Almost
done,
4.
Matt. Well done.
I'm taking credit for 4.
All right. Take credit.
I am.
Brings us to the end of a very fun Jaw.
As always.
I love it. We got to thank Phil, editor, producer.
Oh, thank you guys so much. Happy to be here. Wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
We should thank the patrons, too,
Yeah,
right?
why wouldn't we?
Yeah.
The Patreons. If you want to join us over there, it would mean the world to us. Our Patreons, we love them. So please join our family of Patreons. Go over to patreon.com/Cinemajaw.
Yeah, bonus content all the time. And I am working on Ryan to get some kind of control into the hands of the Patreons.
Right. We had a meeting on this.
Yeah.
Small meeting, but
Like,
we're working on it.
We're working on it. But I think this is coming like maybe next week. I just think it would be fun.
All right. Still need to discuss some things.
Let's
Details.
just do it.
Details. Hey, another way you can support the show is going to wherever you're listening to this, go to the point where you can put reviews or star ratings and at least drop a star rating or a review. That helps us attract new listeners.
Just click all around the episode on whatever it's playing on. Just start tapping like crazy. Something good will happen.
We do. We love it. Until next week, I'm Ryan, the movie guy.
I'm Matt Kay, and keep on John about the movies.